We are back, my friends. Welcome to another edition of this international digital arts program, broadcasting live in my mind to you over the airwaves, mediated through time and technology. My name's Adrian Pocobelli. Artist Journal, September 12th, 2025, broadcasting from the inner half of the nervous system. On a mission, not quite sure where, as those that sailed off into the great unknown did those centuries ago. What do they call it? The Great Age of Exploration. It is the Great Age of Exploration in different ways here, perhaps of inner space. So welcome back. There is a ton of work to get through here. So here is your Friday. We have done it. Your Friday Art on the Blockchain show. So I'm excited to do this. Last week, internet issues, Wednesday, I'm moving. I was just getting crushed. So all to say, thank you for everybody's support, patience, and everything. So here, wonderfully, almost sadly wonderful, who captured the zeitgeist? I call this the newspaper of the imagination sometimes. The newspaper of inner space. And I just feel like this image by Haiti Rocket, I don't even know the title, we'll look in a second, but I think it's the Skeletor meme. Laughing, right, with all the news of this week. Assassinations, bombings, with everything going on. I just feel like this, how perfect is this? It captured the zeitgeist. It captured the moment. So Haiti Rocket, it's actually quite gorgeous too. Using themes that Haiti has come back to over and over, including even techniques, but with a little more color. And it's just, for me, it's like brand new here. So 333. Is that half of 666? I'm not sure. Edition of 3. Listing, I'm putting it on Taya. Rural Idol put out a significant tweet that I didn't even realize. That if you post on Taya, but then you list on Object gets all the fees, and Taya is left with the infrastructure costs. And so I have decided as an editorial decision here, works in a sense, and this is regardless of the blockchain. Where the works are minted is where I should show the works, that's the platform I should show it from. Unless that platform is so debilitated. That because I did do it with Object, it was just out of convenience. But, Taya's been around, they deserve, if people are minting on their platform, they deserve for their work to be shown there, I think. So, all to say, if some guy on the internet wants to talk about them. So all to say, 3 minted. So it's kind of fun, actually, to get used to this. I think there was an offer that was put in for 33.33 that was accepted, or it was just bought off the market, actually, is what happened here. So we are getting used to this. Edition of 3. This also came out from Haiti Rocket. I was tempted to start with this, but it was just too much to start with, and who knows how YouTube would treat it. Miami Vice, but it just looks like a first-person shooter game. Again, I would actually say, I find this disturbing, frankly, actually looking at this, and I brought up a bigger version for us. I just think this is I kind of wish I had started with this, but it was almost too hot to handle. Is how I feel about it. But I tell you, in a sense, this is the beginning of the show right here from my own, put it this way, and I almost have to stop it here. I have to go to another image. Let's go to this one. Well, that's how hot that image is for me. But put it this way, if I was running some digital art gallery in the middle of London or Paris, and I wanted to shake things up, and I wanted to say, we were discussing in our last episode, actually, the difference between synthetic and analytic in terms of content, and how synthetic is more fiction and analytic is taking the contents of the world and then using that to analyze right? So, which is, and if you want to learn more about that, and we go to Analytic and Synthetic Cubism, fascinating. I mean, the benefit of going into the history. But to me, that's almost starting to become, and it's like, well, is that fiction? Is that not fiction? Is that analytic? But to me, it's almost analytic, what I see Haiti Rocket doing there. This is taking, in a sense, something from, what is that? Is it Doom? Is it Quake? I don't even know. I think it's Doom, right? Taking that super violent and then putting it in a computer window. To me, it just feels like taking these parts of the world. It's like an Eduardo Paolozzi collage to a certain degree, where you have, the woman in the advertisement and the bomber plane beside it, and then let's put a Coke bottle in right between. So all to say, if I was like running some gallery, physical, and I had some big window, which kind of captures my imagination. I mean, that's where Max Ernst discovered De Chirico. I think walking with his dad, not sure, and then sees a De Chirico in the window, and the trajectory of his life changed forever. Became a painter. His dad was a painter, I believe. Max Ernst's dad. Now, if I had that, I mean, that is probably like, if I wanted to be at my most cutting edge and outrageous, and basically going, here you go, world, this is your image, and even provocative, that is the image I would start with. That is the image I would put on the window, so to speak, or a big screen window, hopefully floor to ceiling. That is what I see in my mind. Like that. You want to be the edgiest gallery in the world, in my mind's eye, that's what I'm putting up there. And I'd say, yeah, there we go. Come to the Pocobelli collection if you want to learn more. Exciting stuff in the pipeline, by the way. So let's continue here. We are 7 minutes in. But it's just finally here. Because as we see with Eduardo Paolozzi, for those that watch those other shows, and I actually highly recommend, and I'm getting better at them, by the way. There's a lot of ums and ahs in the first Richard Hamilton one. But I feel like I'm getting better with each show there as I learn that format, which I'm incredibly excited about. But as we saw with Eduardo Paolozzi, the importance of even just the selection of content, in a sense, people might go, oh, well, that's a simple collage with Paolozzi. What's the big deal? Is that so great? But the selection of content, in a sense, even philosophically, what's going on within the work supercharges the work in ways that if you don't understand kind of what's going on conceptually, that you may not understand. In the same way that a ready-made by Duchamp, if you don't really understand, the underlying kind of philosophy of, say, a ready-made, it's not as easy to understand, and the work will not be as supercharged as you do with a fountain will be more supercharged, or whatever, Duchamp is highlighting. So I think of that when I think of this, in a sense, Haiti Rocket's work, right? Kind of taking the world and remixing it a bit. Right? So taking memes, this is stunning, by the way. And a lot of people do glitch ROMs, and there's a lot of fantastic, actually, glitch ROMs that I've seen recently. But Haiti Rocket definitely has his own flavor and style. And again, it's easy to underappreciate this, what's going on here. But what you have is just like, I would argue this is really well done. And it's, if you showed that to me and said, do you know who the artist is? I would say yes immediately. And so, yeah, all to say, this is just a beautiful glitch ROM by a master of the, glitch ROM, taking a Nintendo or whatever the video game cartridge is, and then, remixing it either using hardware or software. I think Akiro doing the hardware, I should say, Sega Genesis. I haven't seen too many of those on my timeline recently, but I love those. Here's another work by Haiti Rocket here. Again, minted to Taya. Interestingly, it's quite interesting. I never really paid attention to who's minting on Taya. It's like it creates this other narrative, interestingly. So this is an edition of 1, and I don't believe it was listed. I think this is a pretty cool way of going about things too, which is like just mint to 101 and put it in your collection. That's pretty fun, especially if you collect, right? Here's an edition of 6. And here you see, it looks like Soapbox bought 2, Haiti Rocket has 2, and then 2 other wallets. Let's look at this. So these computers with the algorithm wave moving through the image here beautifully, by the way. So again, I think of Paul Lutzy to a certain degree when I start to see these works. Because you could argue, like they're fairly simple in their execution, but they're brilliant, right? And then so you go, okay, selection of iconography, even just like what is being communicated, again, capturing the zeitgeist, the humor, right? And also the juxtaposition here, the transformation, even, again, with this kind of algorithm and this movement, this feedback. This is beautiful, isn't it? Very collectible. Now, one of the first artists I collected on the blockchain, who I discovered the Kurt Hustle Collective from Haiti Rocket's collection. I went through his collection a lot early on, and I studied it. Another really cool, so I guess this is the desktop display properties. So having a good time here. Edition of 6 and selling 3, and I believe they're selling for, 33, so he's doing well, making money here, which is awesome. Here's another one, Untitled, edition of 6, and also kind of with a bit more of kind of a scrolling gradient, shall we say, and whatnot. Anyways, the wonderful, delightful, classic, real, authentic Haiti Rocket. Awesome to see the work. Excuse me. Big thank you again. So this was published, a rare occasion here. It's always good to have the water. Excuse me. John Bezold put it on the Dutch Art and Design podcast. So I think I might have mentioned that this was coming out. It came out. So big thank you to John Bezold for the interview on his super cool podcast. I mean, he has very esteemed individuals on that podcast. So I was delighted to just talk about my art and digital art on the show. So thank you, John Bezold. Super rad. Go check it out. Go check out his show. Very cool. Again, notable people on that show, so delighted to be a part of that. A new surrealism, Eduardo Paolozzi's Revolutionary Collages. Let's just take a quick look at the comments here. Land Practice. I heard a great quote from Grace Weaver and immediately thought of this episode. Art history is written in pencil, not pen. Interesting. Thanks for introducing me to Eduardo Paolozzi. It's very interesting to think of their work in relation to Hamilton and the art historical narrative. Enjoying the deep dives. Thank you, Lance. Appreciate the comment. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Scomra, you're on fire. I'd never come across Paolozzi's work somehow, and you make a very convincing case for him being the forerunner of the pop age. You're really digging the depths, and I am here for it. Keep going. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I think what I'm doing there is pure fodder. In a sense, like someone said, I like the art reviews, or it's almost like art history class, and I was like, what I'm going for is almost like you're in Paris and you're going for a coffee to talk with your, friend about the ideas in what we're doing here as artists, right? Have your little intellectual conversation. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Scomra. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the other comments too. Crash Top, great to see you covering Paolozzi. Let's see, doesn't get enough coverage compared to other artists of that era. This is so interesting. I think it's partly because of this, because the aesthetics are good. It's not like Paolozzi, but it's not like hit you over the head, candy cane aesthetics. But once you understand what's going on, this new surrealism, as Paolozzi was calling it, again, this kind of analytical versus synthetic approach, contrasting with like classic surrealism, which you could call synthetic, more creating a fiction, whereas this is more just taking reality. And, again, as I mentioned in that episode, I think I might do an episode on this, just a short one, for a day when I don't have too much time, just analytic versus synthetic cubism, and just show examples. I think I might do that next, actually. Let's see. But basically, analytic cubism, it just takes apart the image. It's the old brown and black works where it's here's the table, and we're just going to kind of take it apart, take it from all different angles. Whereas synthetic cubism, which came after, is like we're going to add elements. We're going to add elements that aren't there. We're going to add fictional elements, so to speak. Like, oh, let's put Le Journal, let's color it in, even though that color might not exist. Like, let's add, right? So it's a very fascinating way of considering art and content, right? So we're making like really interesting progress here. So thank you for the comments. I think that was Crash Stop. Thank you, Crash Stop. We didn't finish here. Let's just finish. Great to see you covering Paolozzi. Doesn't get enough coverage. Really important to my own development as an artist also, which is super interesting. Also interesting to see how the building and the Dali painting you show apes de Chirico's work. Yeah, de Chirico definitely influenced Dali. The long shadows, those long psychological shadows, so-called metaphysical painter Giorgio de Chirico, of course, influenced, I think, who else? There's Morandi, was it? And I think some Ernst paintings. You can sort of see a pretty direct connection. Also interesting to see how the building and the Dali painting apes de Chirico's work. De Chirico, these are like psychological landscapes, is a way of thinking about it. De Chirico being to me a much more influential painter and innovative than Dali. Dali can be quite polarizing. But we're going to go deeper into Dali and the paranoid critical method. Dali is actually incredibly important. Interestingly, J.G. Ballard's biggest influence was Salvador Dali. Not other writers, it was Salvador Dali. And it was actually, I've gone too far. Actually, we'll save it for another episode. Especially de Chirico's depiction of empty street shadows and sculpture, there's an eeriness in his work that Dali never quite reaches. It's interesting. They have different kind of qualities, and I see where you're coming from, and I think fair enough. Also, The Great Revision. Love that title. User, I'd like to take a Web3 culture loan against my next colonoscopy and stream it for Raoul Pal. So if you put it on Super Rare, maybe. And I love Super Rare, by the way. That's not a hit on Super Rare. But I know he likes to collect on Ethereum. I was going to say, that's not a hit. I'm kind of more excited about Ethereum, and I'm actually excited to put work on Super Rare these days, interestingly. I see all the jazz that's going on. I think it's a great time. If you have a Super Rare account that's kind of gone dormant, like many of us, you may want to put some work on there. I'm seeing a lot of kind of boom. We're waiting for the boom to hit the Tezos scene, but on Ethereum, it seems to be doing quite exciting things happening. So anyways, funny comment. Eco Textile Studio, what will be the works that matter according to non-crypto art critics who may be experts in art and art history? Great question, Adrian, and nice to see you back here. I guess we can question if newly graduated critics are seriously learning about crypto art in the first place. Yeah, like I have a feeling. Put it this way. I mean, the way I would approach it is I wouldn't really I would take with a grain of salt. Like I wouldn't completely ignore what the market has done up to this point, but it's like, again, it almost creates its own room in the Digital Art Museum, is the crypto art room. But I think there's sometimes a blending, and I'd argue even go so far as to say a confusion between crypto art and digital art, which sometimes, to be somewhat unfair, but for the sake of illustration, sometimes people feel like digital art started with like NFTs, right? Kind of illustrating the point, using an exaggerated example, because of course most people don't believe that, but there are kind of people who kind of think along these lines, who just don't have, a huge background in art history. Let's continue. I think most universities have just started to create modules in the field of AI and digital art in general, as we see today. Yeah, it's green pastures out here. It's going to be very interesting. I'm quite interested to see what our 450 videos here, what that turns into, because it's just screaming for an AI bot, right? So it's going to be interesting to see what that turns into. If so, I would think that these new student graduates may become more reliable than professional critics who had no tech training. Yeah, it's a very difficult thing. Like, I am incredibly skeptical of the universities right now. Like, I think part of the reason the world is in the situation that it's in is because the humanities are no longer really, I think they, like, I'm overgeneralizing because they are taught, but they've become so hollowed out, so unappreciated. Like, 10 years ago, it was like, you got to get STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, right? And it was just, and it was almost fair, the criticism that was put on the humanities, because what we had was the whole post-structural thing where people were just going like, what is this? Like, what are people, it's just like, it's almost like people were being, duped is too strong of a word, but falling into this kind of like trap that these, theorists that kind of wish they were novelists were making. And then all of a sudden, and just like, these kind of pranksters. In a sense, they're intellectual pranksters. Like when you think of Jacques Derrida, is who I'm thinking of right now. There's a prankster element to what they're doing, right? I would argue. Like, so people are like, oh, and then he says this, and then, like, it's a kind of a performance of sorts, I would argue. And in that respect, I can go, Derrida's kind of fun, right? But I'm not like, but people were like, and as I saw, as a student, and we were like, oh, deconstruction, and we're like, oh, so serious now, and this is the greatest thing ever. It's kind of like, yeah. So all to say, are the academics going to get it right? This is why I'm excited as an artist to talk about this stuff, because I think the artists are actually the most authoritative people. And I'm just one voice. I'm not saying I'm the last word here. But I think artists are the most authoritative people because they understand the craft, the art, the techne of making things. So of making the poetry. And I think that matters. So is someone who grows up in school and then goes directly in, and nothing wrong with that, but who grows up in school, goes directly from school to becoming a professor, let's say, and then starts writing papers and just has opinions. What are they, I don't think that dismisses their opinion, but I think they're going to have deficits. Very important deficits in their intellectual understanding by not engaging with the medium itself. And I think any critic that doesn't engage with the medium is going to have certain deficits that are profound, I would argue. But just one more opinion out here, in the ether, so to speak. If so, who knows? Again, part of the reason I do this is to put my own opinions out there. And yeah, the whole crypto art thing, again, it's like, the way I see it, it's kind of like a room in the museum. An interesting room. And there's a lot of interesting stuff, but that's my way of understanding and kind of rationalizing how it works within this larger tradition. It can be in the museum, but just don't expect that to be like, and now we're at 21st century digital art, and then it's all crypto art. Like, I think, yeah, like I don't see that. What if Banksy's X copy? Oh, heck. Awesome to hear from Joss Sobel. Thank you, everybody. Ecotextile and user. And finally, I'm trying to do the comments. We have 2 weeks of comments, so I'm just going to do I might go through this last one pretty quickly. I'm trying to do the comments on the Friday shows so that if people come to the, say, a Richard Hamilton show or Eduardo Paolozzi, they're not getting all these comments and being like, what the heck is this? I just came to learn about Paolozzi. So that's why I think I'm going to do comments on the Friday show. Scamra, another great show. It's so much fun watching you discuss Richard Hamilton's work with so much breadth and depth. Took this one in 2 parts. Which one is this? This is Collage Paintings, the second video. Took this only in 2 parts, is why I'm getting to finishing and commenting now. So much to think about. Wishing I was still living in New York City and could figure out a way back to the MoMA to revisit those works again. Very interesting point. I felt the same way looking at those works. It's like, I want to see, because they're very multimedia. There's balsa wood in some of those collages, right? I'm curious now. It's like, oh, maybe I should go back to MoMA because I felt like I'd kind of seen it all. And here we go. Eco-textile. We're still feeling the echo boom of what happened there, referring to the 1950s and 60s. Indeed, Adrian. I was so lucky to work and learn from artists who studied Richard Hamilton's works on paper. Thanks so much for this research. You're welcome. Yeah, I hope it's, what's kind of fun about it is taking this stuff and actually going with not worrying about reading everything, but just spending a lot of time with it and just being able to say stuff about it. It's quite interesting from a content perspective. Hen Collector, fascinating and exciting episode, Adrian, and ultimately tying our world in with the broader art world really feels like the way. His car pieces kept me thinking prelude to Cronenberg's Crash. Yes, as I put to Hen Collector, as I was putting the show together, I thought this is Ballard, because of course Ballard wrote the novel to Crash, and I'm pretty sure Hen Collector knows that. Cronenberg did the movie based on the novel. After doing Naked Lunch, right, it was like, okay, now I need to do Crash, Cronenberg. And as I was saying, looking at these late 50s works, early 60s works by Richard Hamilton, I was like, this is Crash before Crash. Interestingly, fusing the woman's body with the automobile styling, and again, taking this very psychological, Freudian, latent content, manifest content approach. How would we psychoanalyze this, content that we see in our lives? A very analytical approach. Thank you, Hen. Yes, interesting comment. Message Goat, love me some descriptive Poco content. Oh my God, Lee Perry was mentioned. As in, you can find plethora of radness here. Yes, I sure hope that. Yes, that's what I should put in the description of the episode. A plethora of radness here. I love it. Demon Ego is wonderful to come across Pocobelli's new format just as I was trying to break free from the chaos of NFT and crypto. I was kind of glad last week that my internet wasn't working because it was so intense again, and what I felt like were pseudo controversies that I didn't even really want to discuss. So I was sort of like, you know what? I've been hammering away trying to get my internet to work. Maybe we just take another week off. Longing to return to the purity of creativity and the calmness of art. Thank you. I really loved the last two videos. So thank you, Demon Ego. I love these comments. I'm glad to hear. Let's look at what is happening here. The storm hits the art market. Who's Getting Swept Away by Katya Kazakina, posted by Alain Servet, one of our favorite commenters here over the centuries of episodes here, the hundreds of episodes, and who is actually in the article. I was pleased to see, hilariously. So we don't have time to read all this, but basically, galleries, it discusses here how a gallery, I think it's Clearing Gallery, opted out of Art Basel, which is kind of very prestigious to actually be allowed to go to Art Basel, and opted out to do something kind of nearby, and which is kind of interesting. It sounds like it costs $100,000. Rather than pay, as you see down here, $100,000 for a tiny booth on the periphery at Art Basel, Clearing would spend less and get more. So the stately home, an 11-minute walk from the fair, had 10 times more space for art, plus accommodations for staff, and plenty of rooms to entertain clients. It's a changing market, a changing landscape, as I like to say. Galleries are closing left and right. So we've been talking about this for over a year, I think. And we've been pretty on top of this story, I'm proud to say. There was a beautiful exhibition, amazing dinners, a lot of attention and press, and good sales, but the hole at the bottom of which we were standing was too deep, said Babin, an artist-turned-dealer who started clearing this gallery in his studio in Bushwick, Brooklyn in 2011. I believe this went bankrupt. The gallery had made international stars of artists like Harold Ancart, Cora Crit, so these people. We gave it our best shot and we missed. Babin50 told me the day after he went public with the news, the gallery is headed into bankruptcy and is being sued by its New York landlord, so couldn't pay rent, one assumes. An industry in freefall. Katya Kazakina is really the great art reporter here, knows how to blend just enough sensationalism. It's true, but I mean, that's also tabloid. It's like, industry in freefall, here we go, we're crashing. Babin is far from the only dealer on the way out. The art world is in a precarious state as it heads into the second half of 2025. Not a week goes by, it seems, without a major gallery closing. Smaller galleries are exiting and downsizing discreetly. Each case is different, but many voices, the same laments. Overheads are killing businesses. Sales are down. It's no longer fun. Primary pricing is untenable. Major collectors have stopped buying art or significantly reduced their spending. The next generation isn't there to take over from the old guard. The art world has become bloated, and there isn't an easy way to cure the malaise. And here's Alain Servet. I don't believe for 1 second that it's cyclical. Belgian collector and art market commentator Alain Servet told me, quote, "It's structural. The infrastructure is too big. There are too many advisors, too many galleries, too many artists, too many fairs. Everything will need to downsize. In my blunt opinion, blood will flow in the streets before the art market finds a new balance." This, I hate to say it, but this is music to my ears because I couldn't agree more. And that's just what needs to happen for actually a new, genuine, authentic art to emerge. Here. The contraction started quietly after Art Basel in 2022, but the disastrous results at Christie's the following May brought it into the open. So do we have any more here? The decline in primary market sales has been brutal based on interviews, but the full picture is hard to gauge because of the lack of public data about gallery sales. According to the latest art market report by Art Basel and UBS, annual sales in the dealer sector declined by 6% to $34 billion in 24. Sounds like optimistic, doesn't it? Here we go. A bit more sensationalism for you as we have our coffee here. The industry is in freefall. Said who? Siegel said galleries are closing left and right. They have overextended. Everyone thought the light would never stop shining. The ramifications of the past 2 years have been dramatic. It's been a disaster, basically. So it's almost like people were holding out, seeing if things would turn around, and it doesn't seem to be turning around. Very interesting. So thank you, Alain Servet, for posting this. Is this more? Yeah, and there's more. So go follow Alain Servet. Yes. Now, just a few headlines here. Financial Times, Sotheby's annual loss more than doubles to $248 million. So they are losing money. Patrick Drahi owned auction house struggling with multi-year slump in art market. So quite interesting there. I think that was just today. That was announced. Hyperallergic, how new collector habits are shaking up art fair season. Right? From the tension between digital and physical experiences to the increasingly visible intersection of politics and collecting, changing trends are reshaping the ecosystem. Feels like we're in a changing world. And the market, it's just been overpriced for a very long time. At the Armory Show, first-time artists steal the spotlight. So, and along with that, there's also a hunger for new art. For all the whispers about the art market downturn, newcomers prove the New York Art Fair can still serve as a stage for fresh voices. And here, you see some shots here. As you see, that's pretty hilarious. Hilarious hair there. So interesting. You probably saw this if you are in the digital art scene. Scoop from Now Media. Christie's shutters digital art department. So they closed their digital art department, which is interesting. And now, it's an interesting question because nobody knows really the main reason why. Of course, there's budget cuts, but sometimes tough budgets are an excuse to do what you already wanted to do, right? And so it's been, amalgamated with the 20th and 21st century art. And some people say this is good. Some people say, well, maybe it's not so good. So just kind of an interesting, development. I thought this was a great tweet. So as everybody saw, Banksy put out this, I have to say, quite a brilliant work, in terms of, we've seen this out of the UK, where they have been kind of stifling social media dissent, reportedly, I mean, I don't know the real details here, but reportedly putting people in jail for sometimes aggressive posts, sometimes it's a little surprising. So, all to say, stifling dissent here, having a judge. So many of us saw this. I thought the tweet was funny. Sol.io, I now fully accept the genius of Banksy. And I think and this looks great too, doesn't it? As we're going to see in our next tweet from Xcopy, actually. It's like, wow, this looks even better than before, as many people commented. But I have to say, for those of us that were kind of like, not sure what to think of Banksy, I go, hey, I now fully accept the genius of Banksy. I thought that was the perfect tweet. Xcopy, it looks even better. Going to haunt through the ages. You wonder if they're going to leave it like this. You'd think they would paint over it, but I don't want to give them ideas. It's not like they're watching this show, but I think it's funny that they just leave it there. Maybe it's the workers. I could see them just being like, oh, okay, that's all we could do. I guess we have to leave it. Raster. So there's a new art platform which has completely, how would you put it? They have done what many people have tried to do before, which is to incorporate both, layer 2s on Ethereum, Ethereum layer 1, and Tezos all into one platform. Apparently this is pretty technically difficult. They did it. I suspect vibe coding was the, what helped out and manage this. You get a really good coder, and then you give them vibe coding, and all of a sudden, the impossible starts to happen. So Raster.art, 1 week after launch, Raster is quickly becoming a new home for digital art collectors. So this is a secondary market. And so you can't mint on there, at least not yet, interestingly. My little wish list, other than minting, would be, because wouldn't that be convenient? But I think they want to be a secondary market, is dark mode. What else? Well, put it this way, as someone who puts this show together, how would I love to get notifications on if there's a new work on Ethereum? Right now, I don't know where I go on that. I don't know if I have a place to go on that. What if you got notifications? Pocobelli releases something on Tezos and then on Super Rare. You get both as a notification. So in other words, follow-in notifications on Raster. And you could still keep your secondary, they need to fix their homepage too. This is pretty simple, but I think it's just a beta. It's a 1.0. And you see, in a sense, they're solving, it's not a terrible idea what they're doing here on the homepage, because they're solving a problem, which is all of a sudden, if you start putting work up there, all of a sudden you have to change the work and you have to curate. Then you need someone to curate the homepage, right? It's your classic dilemma. So in a sense, I understand what they're doing here. I suspect, it's not ideal as a homepage, but I go, not a bad solution to just kind of tide things over until we see what we have here. Arthur B., own an NFT on Solana, not your coin. It's controlled by the Metaplex multi-sig. Interesting, I didn't know that. Own a meme coin on Base, also not your coin. Controlled by a Coinbase OpStack multi-sig. Own a DeFi token on Arbitrum. You're not going to believe this, also not your coin. So it is quite interesting. Now, the only thing I'd add here, though, is, and I don't know this is what I have been told. That, and I say it not knowing, but I've heard it enough times that on object, they can change it as far as I understand it. Maybe that's not controversial, and that's great. But I didn't know that till relatively recently, and I'm not sure Arthur B. knows that because he's the guy behind Tezos, co-founder. So he's bringing up all this stuff, but now I don't know if Taya, how that works. I don't know all the details, but I hope people comment and just educate everybody on the reality, is what I hope. This is why my entire collection is on Tezos, historic alive. I don't need to diversify my collection with other blockchains, my keys, my collection. So this is the big question. Is this, do you need to worry? Is my open question here, and maybe you don't. Other people know far more than I do. Roll Idol, who of course I follow. A periodic reminder that if you mint on Taya, this is a large part of the reason here that I want to put Taya here. If it's minted on Taya, I want to put up the Taya webpage here. A periodic reminder that if you mint on Taya, then swap on Object, Taya must cover all the infrastructure costs while Object gets basically the fee, takes your 5%. So if you mint on Object, you can list there, but if you're going to mint on Taya, and I've done this, which is why I share it here, and I'm glad that Rural Idol brings it up. I mint certain series on Taya, and then I'll list it on Object just out of convenience, but then Object gets all the reward, but then Taya has all the costs. So if you list it, if you mint it there, you might as well list it there if you want to support that platform. But otherwise, you're just making them pay for, your, costs while they don't get anything. So, PSA from Rural Idol. Right-click save. This was a heartwarming situation here. A fundraiser by Die With The Most Likes in memory of his friend Kaylee raised enough money to sponsor all 12 hospice beds at the Abby Hunt Bryce House at Morning Light for an entire year. Beautiful. We love seeing the crypto art community come together for a good cause. A look back at a few more. And this beautiful series, so I believe, $60,000 raised, US. So just a beautiful, so I may be even sometimes hard on the crypto art scene, but hey, you can't dismiss this. They just gave $60,000 or raised $60,000 for a good cause. That's rad. And I love Die With The Most Likes, by the way. I don't think I keep on wanting to show more of his work. Again, I need notifications on Ethereum. Austin, how it started, how it's going. Some BTS for Munted Tosh, classic 1990. I just want to say, Jeremy Austin, who has been, who we've had comments on the show from very early on, has really come a long way. And Mint's on chain now, and it's getting really exciting. Like there's that SVG random feature. And so putting out really interesting work. We're going to see more later this episode. But it's getting pretty interesting, is what I would say was Jeremy Austin. It's pretty cool. So I just love the persistence and seeing where this is going and the constant evolution. So just wanted to highlight, looks pretty cool. Hermipe. So this is check out this. So we have some pixel art that's put on what looks like aluminum, right? Printed on aluminum, I believe, and I think it just says here, first time attempts, it was a fruitful process, no real details on it. I believe that's in Japan. Also from Hermipe. I believe this is like a stencil. So really, Hermipe is an important, as far as pixel art being important, like Hermipe is an important pixel artist, in my view. Retro Manny, whoa, can't even begin to explain the feeling when Strano shared this with me. So seeing your work on a million TVs here. There are so many people that have had this, but I figured this is a fun one. And yeah, well put, Manny, and love this TV down here. This is such a cool display. Very impressive what they did there at RGB Montreal. Now, Parker Ito. This is super interesting. So put out a pretty cool show, I have to say, on Verse. And let me just... This was super interesting, though. He was interviewed in conversation with Parker Ito. This is paragraph.com archetype. So I think this is in relation to the show. But it brings up something I've been bringing up here for... It's kind of like over, I'd say about a year and a half, 2 years. Maybe longer, I've actually been thinking about this. But the problem with the terminology post-internet art. There's a semantic issue here. And I actually get confirmation from Parker Ito here, who I believe was one of the kind of original post-internet artists, who's talking about the definitions of post-internet art. And here we see the third definition, which I actually believe is the true definition of post-internet, is just the world after the advent of the internet. And this is why I've always had a problem with the term, because I always found it like, the internet's just getting started here. How are we post-internet? I was literally confused, but it took me literally years to go, oh, this means art after the beginning of the internet, which I think is a misuse of the term post. When we say postmodern, we don't mean art after the beginning of modernism. We mean art after modernism. And that's what it means. So, yeah. And so, what do you do with that? I don't know what to do with that other than just go, it just raises questions over the whole thing, the intellectual structure. And then you have a pioneer here saying, nothing against Parker Ito. We're going to look at the works. It's a pretty cool show. But it just confirms what I've been saying here. I said in a speech in Argentina, that this is how it's being understood, and that this is kind of like a semantic error that's going on here. And what does it mean when your movements, built on a semantic error, To me, it just shows how it was a marketing thing. It's back to the post, using post to make you say, things sound smart, right? I mean, so it's just internet art, is what it is. I want to show you this. This is rad, actually. Now, I'm not positive what's going on. There's a very long write-up here about how I used to live and the big story. I think what's going on here, though, is, and this is the show, The Pilgrim's Living Room, Crucifixion, Mona Lisa Hypergamble. Interesting title. But I think what's going on here is, as you see, it's using, I believe, the PFP technology, or what PFPs are often used for, where they call it trait maxing or whatever, which I don't understand. Like, in a sense, I would argue this was an obvious idea. I've considered it myself. I think many people have thought about it like, oh, you don't need to do this with PFPs. This could become a super rad kind of collage thing. Well, to Parker Ito's credit, he did it. And so as you see here, these are you see the columns here are consistent throughout, I believe. Right? You see the columns, you see the horse, right? Here it's green. Here it's kind of purple. You see the floor, which sometimes changes. This is quite brilliant. And then you see the angel's here, but now it's purple. I think a lot of people have thought about this and that this should be done. And the potential of that technology is actually pretty rad. In a sense, I'm not... Die with the Most Likes did it went in this direction, I'd argue, with his two FX hash series, right? And then you just do these kind of substitutions, and then you get a whole bunch, you have who knows how many parameters or variations, and then you put them in the mix-up machine, and then you get the cut-up machine, so to speak, and then you get these random things. And here the horse is darker, and then the couch is there. Is the couch in every one? It is in every one. Interesting. Anyways, I thought a pretty cool show. I'm pretty sure that all sold out and everything. Collect for 40 Tez. So what do we have here? 8 editions are available, I believe here. Let's pray that everything is working. Oh, internet, do not do this. Let us try the phone. So I am moving, excitingly, by the end of the month. So I should have. It's hard to imagine my internet being any worse at the next location. Something went wrong. Failed to fetch. So, anyways, this is Zozo. Let's see if it works again. Oh, it does seem to be loading. Beautiful, isn't it? It's big squares, big pixelations. It looks like even maybe we're using a little bit of elements here. Love that. The music. Very nice work from Zozo. Martin Bruce, The Ravenous. Great title. Still edition of 20. So these editions are for Zozo and Martin Bruce. I love it. How they're selling. Like, these are not, like it's almost like editions for physical work here. It's pretty cool, and it looks great. And look at this. I mean, look at how original and rad this work is. John Boyd, 900 by 700. Maybe that's from a movie, perhaps. Not sure. And this is on object. 3 left at 33 Tezos. And this is Craft Jungle. And this is also pretty interesting work here by Martin Bruce. Again, looking like combining physical and digital. And edition of 20 for 33 Tezos. And here's Journal of Sleep. Let's pray that this works. Pray my phone. Masterpiece. Hilarious masterpiece. Kurt Hustle Collective. I remember.
I was just doing my late night calls and chilling in the cosmos. I felt some movement on the surface of my...
So vibing. They are vibing here. So another, actually, masterpiece. Journal of Sleep. I'm not sure if
I was just doing my late night calls and chilling in the cosmos. I felt some movement on the surface of my head.
My neighbors must be like, what?
Then I noticed a jazzy star.
A jazzy star.
From the surface.
Very hip language here.
I went in for a closer look and watched him bust some dope-ass moves. Folks should know to the other side of the universe.
It's just awesome. Awesome. And these glitches.
Right off the back of the jazz star, just tell me to follow him like a moth to a flame. And I landed face to face with Neptune's nephew.
Neptune's nephew. The creativity is off the charts, selling out wonderfully, as usual. How much at also on object? Selling out, I believe, 75. Let's continue. Maybe I should close that in case it keeps loading. And the computer's starting to get slow. Okay, I gotta start moving here. Cash earn. Another variation on the video game here. Again, I would just mint every little fragment. Cash earn, if you happen to watch this, or if someone knows cash earn, start minting these fragments. Don't make some big movie. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but I'd say just start minting these fragments, and you have a nice little art business going on here. They look fabulous. They're just really cool. Here's Deadly Yucca. So more Japanese pixel art. Kind of looks like a movie here. Kind of feels like No Country for Old Men. I didn't love that movie, but some people really love it, so probably need to watch it again. Just kind of reminds me of that. And we have other works here. Kind of seems to be a similar software that is being used here, kind of like these old screen emulators. Here's another one. Love the horizontal lines and just the textures. And these are made physical at some point. Here's a gas station. Deadly Yucca. This is incredibly interesting art. You know, like you're using pixel art as the source. And then here, ending up with these, look at this, ending up with these gorgeous physical work. I wonder, is that Vector on there? That would be a small crime if that's Vector on the cover here, but this is absolutely stunning. Anyways, they know what they're doing over there. Here is Kazuhiro Ehira. A gorgeous work here by Kazuhiro. Beautiful combination. I think this is for Gift Day. Maybe that was September 5th, if I'm not mistaken. Love the combination of the mark making and the digital and the pixelation and the dithering and everything. Edition of 58. I think that was an open edition, perhaps, or not sure. No Hygiene. Pretty rad work here. Heartbreak. Interestingly, going backwards, and so just this infinite loop. We have another one. This is on Teo, 1 of 1, collect for 200 Tez. So it's interesting, like, I didn't realize so many people minted to Teo, which is interesting. I was just, you'd think I would know. But I kind of had a vague idea, but I didn't realize the extent of it. Anyway, more cool work here. So edgy AI artwork from No Hygiene. As usual, 200 Tez, pretty reasonable. Gregorio Zanardi, I'm not here today. Digital painting, love this piece. Fabulous, fabulous piece. Love that clay. Love that clay tennis court and just the execution here. Someone who just keeps working and working. We're talking about Jeremy Austin. Here's another artist who just keeps persisting with his art. The green racket. And again, the more you make, the more great things are going to happen. Even that nice shadow here, clearly a digital painting. This looks like it's sold out at how much? At 14 Tezos. Is that the case? It is. So congrats to Gregorio Zanardi. Stupid Machine by Uxine, edition of 11. So almost is this like comic style? And I took that personally. So Stupid Machine, something seems to have gone wrong. So interesting. And Crash Test Dummies. So some sort of joke, I'm sure. Meme Rot 2025, edition of 11, sold out. Here's Rare. We don't see him very often. Part of the Orange Ball series put together by James, or Josh, on Object. Everything is peachy, almost like Oh Peachy. And I thought this was a really original work here. I don't see the basketball. Oh, there it is. Cool. Very cool work here by Rare. Kind of not typical. I mean, I think of Rare as the artist who does the Boston Dynamics dogs, if I'm not mistaken. Mishiyasu, Shadow Disco. Interesting. Kind of remind me of that Dali arm and spilled can of beans. But yeah, interesting piece here. Cool GIF. It's on Object from Mishi Asu, edition of 15. And August Crown put in an offer for 6. Interesting, not selling the others yet. Not listing the others. Let's see how we do here with each work loading up. So this is an interesting painting that I just saw going through the feed on Hen Yeepeak. And the name, so that's the name of the artist, and the work is called Sundial. Collect for $6.66. Interesting painting here. Digital artwork. We see a cursor in there. Mouse cursor. Nov 1914. Por dentro de la casa, and cool, what looks like a Dalmatian, and this interior, and then we see a balloon in the background. So interesting piece from Nov 1914, edition of 7. I believe this sold out. There's 3 left. 3 left at 13 Tezos. Dan Control, more like this. Morning like this. So again, using the center align. This is hilarious. Brilliant by Dan Control. Tukes, where color dines. This is on super rare. And so again, artists are selling on super rare. Maybe I can't bring this up. I probably can't bring this up. I'd like to bring this up larger. There we go. And so nice AI artwork by Tukes. Here's Scamra. This was a pretty cool one too. This is like a phone. We'll see if it loads up. See if any of this works anymore. I tell you, as I feel like I joked with a friend, I'm escaping Berlin here. Everything's like falling apart on me. My mouse doesn't even work anymore half the time. My internet doesn't work. My computer's like, the fan is on right now. It's quite hilarious, actually. So I hope wherever I end up in 3 weeks, actually I'll be in another part of Germany temporarily. Anyways, here is a study for NVIDIA GeForce. Very cool. How to make kind of a simple object, a tough object to make interesting. Scamra does it. That is on Rodeo. Here is another work. This is on Objects. Scamra. Banksy's Love is in the Air. So indeed, a nice piece here. So doing a remix for that art history, object art history by Scamra. Here is Chris Follows. Also, this is an AI and generative mesh painting. This is on Object, edition of 20 for 5 Tezos. Cool work. These, textures are familiar or feel familiar, don't they? Maybe a stable diffusion, but not sure. Generative AI artwork. Here's Revolu with a cool work. This is handmade. So this is not, I believe, this is not AI. But interesting details. And this is why I included it. Actually, Revolu did a close-up there on X, and I was like, oh, that is impressive. Very nice details. The details matter. This is something I'm really interested in right now, are the details. Details matter, to state the obvious. Close the World, Open the Next. This is Agnes, who's actually been putting out some really interesting work. Here is one. The America one was great. I'll have to dig that up. I never got that this episode. Cybergirl. So yeah, just kind of interesting kind of collage of windows. Edition of 13, and that is on secondary now. Did we miss one? Nope. 1,000 Lands with a cool work here. Sonka. Kind of looks like a beach scene. Interesting textures here and everything. Reminds me of Greece immensely. I wish I was in Greece right now. I have a friend who's like, we should go to Greece. I'm like, I don't know if I can. I have to move. This is pretty cool. Manta timing. I'm pretty sure I follow. This interesting combination here. What looks like perhaps an AI cutout, but not, or AI style image, but I'm not positive. Could be from a magazine. And this interesting noise here and this pixelation. Interesting combination. Kind of head-turning work here. Don't know what, this is a platform, vv.so, ultimate NFT. So I don't know what's going on there, but cool work, nevertheless. Cereza. This is from the Orange Ball that Josh put together. And so here it is. Pretty cool artwork here also. AI by Cereza, who used to be Graphica.png. Love the green thing here. So again, looks like a combination of AI and collage. I'm not exactly sure. But usually there's AI, I believe, in Graphica.png's work. Game, here's another work from the series edition of 25. So pretty cool. Love the kind of, and you see the print style. It's almost like we're just seeing, almost like we're seeing in the Manta work like this. What looks like almost a cutout from a magazine, but it's hard to tell. And then this strong kind of flat blue, but almost flat. But here you see a bit of detail. Interesting game. This is One Don't Know's Rise of the Immortals. It's on super rare. So One Don't Know's, half an ETH. So I think just lowered canceled the auction. One Don't Know's is pretty smart. Like I actually, and Quite is just lowering the reserve, puts out a little post. It's like, oh, cool. Maybe, because sometimes you overprice your work. It's part of the thing. You're trying to get as much as you can for it, generally speaking. But sometimes you can go too far. And then, so it's like, okay, just so everybody knows, lowering the reserve. Fair enough. So that's awesome. So all to say, cool collage here from One Don't Know's, I believe out of Indonesia. Nice person I talked to years ago, like 2022 was when we were messaging. Mumbleboy, Ceremony 4, cool work here. It's on Object, again, combining digital and physical. As we pass the hour mark here, here's Lorna Mills. This is on Taya, the affluential animated GIF, and just checking here, is this sold out? Not for sale. This looks sold out. Edition of 6, a low edition for Lorna Mills, and it looks like a couple of sausages here, some hands, and a cool pink background. Of course, all the titles coming from racehorses. She's very consistent, isn't she? Here is Burka Bayram, also minting on Dea. And here, just a really nice piece. Of course, old school kind of Tezos artist. Nice combination. You see the pixelation. These are pixels in the background. I don't know if you can see that. And then combining it with vector. Very interesting. Nice piece from Burka Bayram. Collect for 3 Tez. Editions 7, I think 7 left. Here's Walk. W. Not even sure which one this is. If this is a happy face or something else. Maybe a heart. Love this series here by Walk, taking emojis. Emotional graphic. Even that's brilliant. That is on Object. This is Zed Laser, who I think we've seen comments from in the past, putting to work on Bitcoin. So good for them. So here is the work on making an ordinal 4 days ago. Rad. I think they even got into the partner program. Congratulations if they did. And so there's the price, $92, pretty reasonable. Fees are low. Ordinal number 1, First Love, leaving a permanent mark as it does on the mother chain. Yes. And they're going to be putting out a print series soon. And so here's a bigger version. But yeah, it's a small file, as one does on Bitcoin. Here's Element Lee, part of, I think, a larger series, Corridor R. I had so many works to look at. And so anyways, a nice piece here. 2 colors from Element Lee. This is part of Fake Whale, edition of 10. It looks like it's sold out. And let's continue here. Austin Cyber, SIFR. So some brilliant works by Jeremy Austin here. I have to say, I'm really thrilled about just this continued evolution. Channel 0, I think using the special random, I'm not positive, but this randomized GIF, or randomized SVG, pretty rad work here. It's an animated PNG. Okay, so animated PNG. So there's probably no randomization in this one. But we were seeing it in the SVG. But again, just doing an animated PNG, like this, Jeremy Austin, this is awesome. I also put out a work on Bitcoin. This should be bigger. We'll see if it loads up. There we go. 117. So, this is kind of typical entry-level prices. I do the same thing around. Yeah, actually, I do. I'm between 0.001 and 0.0015 if I think or if it's really special, maybe I'll add more. But all to say, so here, putting out a work on Bitcoin as, someone who's making these tiny files should. This is pretty cool too. Object permanence. This is a GIF against a white background. So interesting piece, isn't it? Almost looks random, doesn't it? Maybe it's just a really long GIF. I'm not sure. Very nice piece. Here's Hermipe again, and so not sure what's going on here, but just some more rad black and white pixel artwork. And here's another one. This one's animated. Glowworm. Oops. There we go. Interesting ending. Interesting. As it begins to rain here, I should probably speed up. Here's Nicholas Dietrich. This is on Taya. A nice, again, 2-color work, but using different opacities, one assumes. Almost like an Easter Island figure here, or statue, in this little kind of fountain area outside of what looks like a residential complex or something. Very interesting piece. Nice trees. Collect for 15 Tezos. Edition of 20. 8 left. Beautiful work. Elna Frederick. Doing a MySpace work. There's, I think it's Tom from MySpace. Beautiful. Very internet-y. So luckily, we saw part of that. Running art on Bitcoin. So, now I believe this is NativeEd. It is, soon. So NativeEd, also on Bitcoin. Very fun. Let us continue. Silva Santus, raining. And so very cool glitch ROM, as you saw there. We just got to enjoy them while they are here. Quick Hunt. Very nice work by Kyle Flemmer here. Very intense. I apologize for the flashing. It is just the nature of the beast here. Minted for Gift Day, edition of 66. Beautiful work. There's another one. This is pretty innovative here. Using these 3D glitch ROMs, like, this is pretty fresh, isn't it? I believe Deggy D picked this up. This is an edition of 1. I believe it was 100 Tezos. And actually, I needed to thank Scamra, actually, for picking... I'll try and do that next show, actually, for picking up a work of mine. So here, anyways, congrats to Kyle and Deggy. Rad work. Here is Muji. Beautiful. Beautiful work, Muji. Love the colors here. Nice, simple pixel art work. Collect for 6 Tezos. 2 left. Edition of 11. This is on Bitcoin. I thought this was a pretty interesting pesky portrait. This is on Gamma, and when was this minted? I think it was July 20th. Yeah, so just starting to, again, see what's out there. Nice piece. Interesting orange background. It goes really nice with that pink and different kind of variations of pink. More pesky, or ASCII Ed Woods. And here, so, yeah, not exactly sure what's going on, but interesting composition. Nice piece from just a purely formal perspective. Edition of 10. Here is Sachu, I believe, H2 code. So, again, playing with the circuit board, but maybe adding a waterfall in the background. So, cool work there. Edition of 1 for 135 Tezos. Perfect loop. Very interesting piece, combining big pixels with, like, super refined animation here in the printer content, with even some smaller pixels in the background. Very nice contrast here. Original work. Nice piece by Perfect Loop. Look at that. Very cool piece. Here's Macrometry with a cool abstract here, playing with some digital outputs. And it's Nathan with a cool work, Journey Paint Effort 214. Nice abstract, interesting kind of pixel art abstract. That's an edition of 1. Here's Andrea Oliveira Cebola. Slowly, my phone is letting this play. We'll see if it... So, nice piece here, kind of 3D, almost looking like a Blender thing that is pixelated. Not exactly sure, though, but kind of cool, kind of turning, sculptural. AI 3D scan of a photo taken with a cyber shot. Glitched with creative coding. Thank you, Andre Oliveira Cebola. So check out the whole thing. It goes for 37 seconds. That is on Taya. Here's on Object, Loop Theory, Collagen by Spiegels Maskinen, edition of 1. This is a very cool series that Spiegels has put together here. Kind of scientific oriented. Very nice piece. Nice color. Nice rendering here. Python, 3D and keyframe. So more Python use. So this is part of a Loop Theory series. Here's another one, Phylotaxis. So cool scientific theme with kind of a kids-like medium of pixel art. Love it. Love it, love it. Edition of 1 and not listed yet. Here's cool work on Bitcoin. On the Edge Cryptalizations. This is by ZA. And when was this put out? Just out of curiosity. April 8th. Okay, so this goes back. Nice work, though. Still available. 1080 by 1080. Here's Perfect Loop. Bounce. So very fun going from almost these like the UI of a palette chooser, color picker. Pretty rad work. So that's Perfect Loop 2. Edition of 15, sold out. And here is LB. It's peanut butter and jelly time, so exciting times here. Really nice combination of pixel art and glitch, video glitch. Edition of 30. And here is Nebular. I thought this was a pretty cool work. Kind of something you could just imagine in a museum. Someone blowing bubbles, nice and simple concept. Kind of has that 1970s simple concept video sort of thing. Seemingly. Edition of 4 for 12 Tezos, still available. This is great. Wish You Were Here by X-Mortal, selling to Batsoup, who was just on the Raoul Pal show. So nice work. So this is the thing. For those that are on Super Rare, it's a good time to be minting. Let's just put it that way. And then you sell the Batsoup, and who knows what happens to you, because probably a lot of people are paying attention to Batsoup. Gorgeous work, by the way, by X-Mortal. There's a few where he's using pixelation. Gorgeous. Here's Eterna, edition of 18, 8 left for 222. Very nice piece here. I think this is full size, kind of classic subject matter. Here's Machine. Just one physical work, I think, today, one or two. Playing off of the Magritte classic work. And that is your show, my friends. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And let's see what we discuss on Monday. Until next time, take care.